think there's three big issues to talk about here, Dr. Gottlieb. The first and perhaps most important is the health issue unto itself, maybe some of the questions that Joe was just asking. Then there's the issues of supply chain and rollout in the interim period, or at least going forward. And then there's the behavioral science question around hesitancy and questions about what this moment may create in terms of challenges going forward. But let's start with the health issue. As you understand it, how concerned are you by these 6 cases? And how concerned do you think that viewers who've taken the Johnson & Johnson vaccine over the last 2 or 3 weeks should be? And there's been guidance now issued by the FDA and CDC about things that they should be looking for, in fact.
Well, thanks for having me. Andrew, I want to be just cautious not to overinterpret the report, because it is an early report, and we don't have details about these 6 cases. Let's start with what the FDA didn't do. They didn't revoke the emergency use authorization. They didn't order this off the market. This was a requested pause, which is an awkward regulatory step, but I think it reflects a level of caution on their part not to appear to act too forcefully here, that it becomes hard to unwind this action. I think that this is a rare side effect. We've seen it now potentially with the AstraZeneca vaccine, so there may be a thought inside the FDA that it could be causally related, perhaps related to the vector itself, which seems the most obvious, perhaps related to the interaction between these adenovectors and coronavirus. And so their concern would be that they're only seeing the severe cases and they're missing some of the more mild cases. And by taking this action, it's going to elicit more reporting. And that's really what they're after. They want to understand what the numerator is, make sure that if it's in fact 6 cases in 7 million, that's what it is, and it's not many more cases that they're missing. And so, a lot of J&J vaccine was used recently, so if there are more cases, they would accrue in the coming weeks. It's also a function of the fact that it's a changed landscape. We have many more people vaccinated. There's more supply of the mRNA vaccines. As you noted, I'm on the board of Pfizer, which makes one of those vaccines. So the risk-benefit for the agency probably changes in that environment. I still think this could come back with some additional, perhaps, restrictions on its target population in the interim while they continue to investigate this. That's what we've seen other countries do with the AZ vaccine. They've just limited the population, the target population, to an older population. I'll just sort of sum up by saying there are 3 concerns that I would have right now from a policy standpoint. First, this vaccine was being biased to use in more austere settings, places where you couldn't deliver 2 doses. You wanted to deliver 1 dose and be done with the vaccination schedule. So places like hospitals on discharge were using the J&J vaccine. So now you're going to have to focus on how you get the mRNA vaccine into those environments. 2, this will fuel the hesitancy that you talked about. Even if there isn't a causal relationship, even if this is exceedingly rare, I think we're going to see that whole conversation now get ignited on social media. And 3rd, this was a global product. This was a vaccine that we were looking to put into low and middle income countries because of its preferred storage and handling requirements. It didn't require the same cold chain as the mRNA vaccines. And so I think now there needs to be an emphasis on how we could go create the infrastructure to put the mRNA vaccines into those more austere environments. Now, again, I think that there's a real possibility after they investigate these cases further, make sure that there's not many more cases beyond this that they're missing, that this vaccine ends up being used again, perhaps with a little bit of a narrowed label. But I don't think this is the final word on this.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.